Homelander may be the strongest supe alive, but what if he is not the most dangerous? Because hidden underneath all the chaos of Gen V and the boys is one terrifying possibility the series keeps quietly building toward. Marie Moreau was never supposed to become a hero. She was supposed to become a balance breaker. And the scariest part? Sister Sage may have figured that out before anyone else. Because when most people look at Marie, they see a young supe still learning how to control her abilities. But Sage would see something completely different. A walking, extinction-level threat to every supe on Earth. Not because Marie can throw blood, not because she can explode body parts, but because her powers attack something every supe depends on without even realizing it, their biology. That changes everything, because Homelander's lasers are terrifying. His strength is terrifying. But those powers still operate on the outside. Marie's abilities operate underneath the skin, inside the body itself. And suddenly, the entire power structure of the boys' universe starts looking fragile. Because if Marie's abilities continue evolving, then every supe, including Homelander, may already have a weakness living inside their own bloodstream. Marie's powers were never meant to be small. One of the smartest tricks Gen V ever pulled was making Marie's abilities seem smaller than they actually are. At first glance, blood manipulation does not look world-ending compared to flight, laser vision, or invulnerability. But that illusion completely falls apart once you start thinking about what blood actually is. Blood is survival. Blood carries oxygen. Blood regulates pressure. Blood keeps the human body functioning. Which means Marie is not controlling a weapon. She is controlling the system, keeping people alive. And that becomes horrifying when you apply it to supes. Because Compound V does not just magically create powers out of nowhere. It changes the body biologically, which means every supe still relies on organs, cells, circulation, internal balance, and Marie's powers directly interact with all of it. That makes her abilities fundamentally different from almost every other supe in the franchise. Most supes attack externally. Marie attacks internally. That is far scarier. Because physical durability becomes almost meaningless if somebody can manipulate the systems inside your body directly. And honestly, the show may already be hinting at this. The reactions people have toward Marie feel strangely cautious, almost nervous. Like Vought, she understands her powers could eventually become impossible to contain. Not because she is stronger than Homelander physically, because she may eventually bypass strength entirely. Why Sister Sage would immediately fear Marie? Now this is where Sister Sage becomes incredibly important. Because Sage does not think like everyone else. Most characters react emotionally to power. Sage analyzes consequences, patterns, outcomes. And if Sage truly is the smartest person alive, then she would instantly recognize the terrifying truth about Marie. Marie represents evolution, not in the superhero sense, in the biological sense. Because Marie's powers may be the first abilities in the boys' universe specifically capable of disrupting the internal mechanics of supes themselves. That possibility alone changes the entire hierarchy of power. For years, Vought survived because supes sat above ordinary humanity like gods. Nobody could realistically threaten them. Not governments, not weapons, not soldiers. But Marie changes that equation completely. Because if she eventually learns how Compound V functions inside the bloodstream, then suddenly every supe becomes vulnerable from the inside out, even Homelander. And Sage would absolutely understand that before anyone else. Which means Sage's interest in Marie may not come from admiration. It may come from caution. Because intelligent people fear potential more than present power. And Marie's potential is terrifying. Homelander represents the old world. Homelander is the perfect symbol of how Vought created power. Brute force, fear, domination. He rules because nobody can physically stop him. But Marie represents something completely different. Precision, control, biological disruption. That contrast feels intentional. Because the future of the boys' universe may not belong to the strongest supe anymore. It may belong to the smartest kind of power. And biologically, Marie's powers may eventually become more dangerous than laser vision ever could be. Because Homelander still relies on intimidation. Marie does not need intimidation. Imagine her eventually learning how to sense Compound V flowing through someone's bloodstream. Imagine her learning how to overload it, suppress it, or even remove it entirely. That would not just threaten Homelander. That would threaten the existence of all supes permanently. And honestly, that possibility may terrify Sage more than Homelander himself. Because Homelander is predictable. Marie is not. Marie could destroy the entire system without realizing it. The most dangerous thing about Marie is that she still sees herself as human emotionally. She feels guilt, fear, responsibility. She still questions herself. That sounds comforting at first. But it actually makes her more dangerous. Because unlike Homelander, Marie does not fully understand the scale of what she could become yet. Homelander knows he is terrifying. Marie does not. And that creates a frightening possibility. What happens when someone with God-level biological abilities finally realizes how powerful they truly are? Because once Marie understands her own ceiling, the entire balance of power changes forever. Not through war, not through destruction, through control. And Sage may already realize that. She may already understand Marie is not simply another powerful supe. She is a living flaw in Vought's entire system, a person capable of making supes vulnerable again. Why Marie may be more important than Ryan. Most people assume Ryan is the future of the boys' universe, the next Homelander, the next god. But honestly, Marie may be far more important. Because Ryan represents stronger power, Marie represents a different kind of power entirely. Ryan continues the old system. Marie threatens to replace it. And from Sage's perspective, that distinction matters more than anything. Because Sage understands systems better than people. She knows unstable systems eventually collapse. And Homelander's world is incredibly unstable. Fear-based hierarchies never last forever. Eventually something disrupts them. Marie may be that disruption. Not because she wants to destroy the Seven, but because her existence alone threatens everything the Seven were built on. Invincibility. Because once supes can bleed like everyone else, they stop looking like gods. The final twist could already be hidden. Now imagine the terrifying direction this theory could eventually go. Homelander finally loses control. The Seven collapse into chaos. And everyone expects another massive battle to decide the future. But instead, the answer was quietly growing in the background the entire time. Marie. Not stronger, not louder, not more violent, just biologically unavoidable. Imagine Homelander realizing too late that brute strength no longer matters against someone who can attack the body itself. For the first time in his life, Homelander would face something he cannot overpower through fear. Because you cannot intimidate your own bloodstream. And honestly, that would be the perfect irony for the boys. The strongest man alive losing not because someone hit harder than him, but because someone evolved beyond the entire idea of physical power altogether. At first, Marie Moreau looked like the future generation of superheroes. But the deeper you analyze her abilities, the more terrifying her existence becomes. Because Marie is not simply powerful. She may fundamentally threaten the biological foundation of every supe alive. And if Sister Sage truly understands long-term outcomes better than anyone else, then she already sees exactly what Marie could eventually become. Not another hero, not another member of the Seven, but the beginning of the end for the entire supe hierarchy itself, a power capable of making gods vulnerable again. And honestly, that possibility may scare Sage even more than Homelander, because Homelander represents destruction, but Marie represents change. And change is far harder to control.